the second Madras Week lecture, thoughtfully organized by S.R. Madhu. We have with us Professor Venkatesh Chakravarthy, who will speak to us on how Tamil cinema has evolved with Chennai. Professor Chakravarthy is a distinguished scholar on cinema and also an expert practitioner. He is currently the Dean of Media Studies at SRM University. He served earlier as Dean at the Ramanaidu Film School, as Regional Director of the L.V. Prasad Film and TV Academy, and as Senior Lecturer with Science University of Malaysia in Penang. He has given lectures at many prestigious institutions and written extensively on cinema. He has also been very active in film production for the past few decades as a scriptwriter, as a director of documentaries, corporate films and television films. He has scripted numerous films in Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Hindi, including Vedam in Telugu and Dam Maro Dam in Hindi. He was the chief director of a 150-episode television series titled Paramapadam during 1997-98. He conceived, directed and edited for Doordarshan 17 episodes of the much acclaimed series Chitram Pesudadi about landmark Tamil films. He has directed films for several corporates including the Rane Group. He made Chennai, the Split City, a feature-length documentary in 2006, an interesting short films on the Madras Christian College and on the shift of the Kottawal Chavadi market to Coimbatore. As writer, he has published several incisive papers on cinema in many prestigious journals. This evening, he will discuss how Tamil cinema has changed and evolved with the city of Chennai, which he will do with selected interesting clips from several movies to make his points. We look forward to an engrossing presentation. Over to Professor Venkatesh Chakravarthy.
Good evening, Rotarians, South Chapter. I don't know how much time can I take, any idea?
20-25 minutes.
20-25 minutes, so that's going to be pretty short. Anyway, yeah, fine. When I show my hand, just change quickly, because I keep a tag on the time. Okay. See, when we look at cinema anywhere in the world, whether it's Indian cinema, Tamil cinema, or Hollywood cinema, now what forms the basis of it is the issue. Okay. Now, without two things, there's no cinema. One is the capitalistic structure, the entire kind of thing it provides, and technology. But the issue is, neither the capitalistic structure nor the technology has the same trajectory in every country. It varies. Okay, if you look at, say, 1896, Paris, you have the 1895, the Lumia brothers come out with the 3-in-1, what I call as cinematic equipment, they call it a cinematograph. Actually 3-in-1, it's a camera, it's a printer and a projector. Okay. Within a year from that is in 1896, Japan produces its own machine. So why that happened in Japan and not in other Asian countries? Reason is, Japan started modernizing much earlier, consciously. By 1857, Japan was building its shipyard, modern shipyard. Here the Sipai Mutiny was going on. We were transiting from what I call is the control of the East India Company. We are moving into coming under the empire. That's what happened here. So that is the background around which we need to see. When you look at the Chennai city, okay, I left out the pre-colonial basically, but I can talk about this. You have the early colonial, that starts around 1638. Then you have the mid-colonial period, which I call is the period of the East India Company, 1639 up to 1856, and the late colonial it's from 1857 to 1947. And then you got the post-colonial, 1947 onwards. So what happens is, each is a major shift that occurs in the way, of course, the city itself congeals in 1639 only. Though there are people arriving here on the shores, okay, much earlier from 1522 onwards, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and so on. It's around 1639 after Francis Day does whatever he does, buying a piece of land, that the city starts to emerge. And gradually it builds. So you can see I am going to look at the late colonial period because that's when cinema really comes in, not earlier. Next slide please. Then comes much later, say 1947 to 1991, I mark it as Nehruvian city. And the city which subscribed to the developmental model of the socialist state. Okay, so in a way it's an Nehruvian model, okay, functional in many ways. And then from 1992 onwards we have the global city. So this is the transformation, major shifts. My point is, the cinema changes when the city changes. Because, you know, people think, you know, you do a certain kind of film, with that you can change society. Now that's only a marginal thing. It's always the case that whenever the society or the city shifts into a new axis, its cinema also changes. So let me go to the next slide please. So if you look at it, there's a certain relationship, homology between cinema and architecture here. Architecture also has this problem. It always gets congealed during certain periods. It won't change for a long time. Until suddenly, you know, the society changes, architecture will change. So you can see early colonial will be some kind of a, some kind of clone of Greco-Roman kind of elements. I'm not talking about the earlier architecture here, which was Pallava, Chola and Mughal. Okay, and then when the East India Company comes, it still continues in that mode. But late colonial period, rapid changes are occurring. You know, you have the Indo-Saracenic, okay, which blends the Gothic and the Mughal style together. Then you get your central station, you get all these other buildings we get during that period. And then comes post-colonial period. Then after that you get the Nehruvian city. What is that? It's the functional Le Corbusier kind of stuff. You know, your LIC buildings, your housing boards, that sort of stuff you get. And then 1991, you get all the flyovers, the steel and glass, and you know what they call the metro, and pretty, you know, all kinds of awards they name put together, postmodern kind of buildings. This is a major shift which has happened. Okay, let's go here. Let me go back to what happened in Paris in 1850 to 1870. It's a crucial period. Okay, that is what we call as the birth of modern consumerism. But the modern consumerism arrives with this kind of shopping arcade. Now the shopping arcade is not a bazaar. It's far more organized. And here you can see the first emergence of the glass window through which the whatever people want to buy, the commodity is displayed. And as you walk down the aisle, on either side, you will see the things displayed. And how it is lit in those days, before electricity is, can you see the ceiling? It's somewhat translucent. It will diffuse the sunlight, and the sunlight will be evenly spread over all the windows. Have you ever been to Central Station? Central Station entrance, you see, still that translucent material is there, along with some stained glass window paintings. Okay, even railway stations and all of them in those days had this kind of a translucent ceiling. And in the night it will be gaslight, which will light up. Okay, you can say, here is architecture mobilizing a gaze. Architecture is there. It's mobilizing a gaze for a certain consumerist purpose. Okay, this is what happens. Now, while this is happening in 1850 to by 1870, this reaches its culmination and then gets exported. In Paris it's over. But meanwhile it's moving into other European countries, American countries and down Asia. Okay, next slide please. And then we come here, Spencer's. See, around 1863-64. Okay, this is the first advent of consumerism in Madras. Okay, not the second photograph is not from Spencer's, but it's the parent company elsewhere. So I couldn't get an interior photograph of Spencer's. Spencer's is very much built on those principles. Next slide, please. And it's after, so just go back to the slide. It's after 7 years after the first railway station at Royal. It's also closes on that. Next slide, please. Okay. 25 years after the Paris arcades, you have the birth of cinema in Paris. So I put the question: is it a new consumerist window? Okay, both are arriving at a certain time, end of 19th century, and in 19th century you have this new medium as well as this new structure in architecture. Okay, both have to do with the gaze and both mobilize the gaze. Okay, next please. 1 year later, okay, what happens here is not the American named M. Edwards who arranged the first cinema screening at the Victoria Public Hall. Okay, during 1897. No such reference to the Madras Mail and the Madras Times for the entire year of 1897 to Edwards, as Stephen Hughes points out, another colleague and scholar of early the presidency cinema in particular. Next please. The first cinema shows in that sense occurs somewhere in December 1896. It was organized by T. Stevenson, who owned the Madras Photographic Store at 167 Mount Road. Okay, spread over 3 nights. He had earlier staged magic lantern shows ever since he set up this business in 1895. So there were magic lantern shows much earlier, very, very popular. Okay, next please. His premiere started at 9:30 at the Victoria Public Hall and consisted of 10 short films and many magic lantern stripes, many of which were of local interest, depicting views of Madras, such as the Guindy horse races and the Mowbray's Road street scene. Next. The introduction of cinema to Madras was more of a damn squib, literally. Because what happened that day, the first film shows coincided with the cyclonic storm. Madras Mail and December 1890 cited by Hughes. The long anticipated opening ceremony of the newly constructed museum, that building you see next to it, diverted the leading citizens of Madras away from Stevenson's show. And he made one more mistake, big mistake. And with cinema's admission prices at ₹321 at that time, mind you. At that time it's quite a lot of money. Because with 20 paisa or 25 paisa or whatever it is, 2 annas you can buy a bag full of rice. So that's the kind of thing. Okay, next. Next please. Okay, but Stevenson using Madras as base, okay, he had operations, conducted operations across South India. Okay, in 1897, and then he went also to Dhaka, Calcutta, and you can see from here how it goes and how the connection is made. Next please. Okay. But then, what is the next major shift? Shift is, I said, exhibition precedes production. In cinema, no local films could be made. Nobody was making any local films at that time here. Cannot make, because first of all, accessibility of the technology and the accessibility, the skills associated with the technology. For both of which, somebody had to go abroad, train and come back. Or train under someone who is operating here, under that person, a European, invariably, during those days. But the first one, first theatre in the city is not the one which is now turned into a philatelic center at the Madras post office in Mount Road. Okay, this is the one. Major Warwick was usually Warwick Major. Forget that. That is the theatre. The Warwick theatre is on the one near the Mount Road post office there, the electric theatre. I am talking about Bioscope here. Bioscope, next slide please. Okay, it was started by a woman. Okay, probably a German origin, I don't know. It's because the name is Mrs. Klug. She established the first permanent theatre, which is known as Bioscope. You see the building is still there because it houses what they call Sigurudha Sabha. Okay, and they occupied the thing. So around 1911, okay, this opened on the first floor of number 16 Popham's Broadway in Georgetown. This is known as the Broadway Bioscope or simply the Bioscope. Okay, this was established 37 years after Spencer's. Next please. Next slide. Yeah. So it left Madras for good in October. It only ran for 6 months. Okay, all the true views still survives and appears to have been left largely intact as should have been in 1911. The Sigurudha Lakshmi Villa Sabha, a social recreation club that originally started with the purpose of promoting amateur theatricals has occupied the hall since 1944. That's what has happened. But meanwhile, others went ahead. Other Europeans built, initially Europeans built the theatres, and then the Indians got into the fray, the local Indians. Next please. Okay, what is important here is the group offered the city a new kind of exhibition space that established cinema as a landmark within the urban geography, and for the first time allowed film going to become an habitual practice in Madras. Though unrecognized and somewhat neglected in an era when most of Madras' older cinema theatres have been demolished, Kluge's bioscope lives on as a physical presence that deserves as much attention and preservation as the electric theatre. Move please. Okay, locals enter the fray. Okay, then comes, after several theatres by the European, comes Venkaya Naidu. He was running a photographic goods shop, so he built the Gaiety. But the question is, what will he show in Gaiety? What would he show? He built the Gaiety. Okay, what is happening? Next. Okay, I'll come to that. I'm jumping from there to here. You saw Spencer's in one space and you saw Gaiety in another space. But now what has happened? 100 years later, you have Express Avenue Mall and the Escape Cinemas in one and the same building. And it's a convergence. So cinema also becomes one consumerist window among another consumerist. So it has happened all over the world. No, nothing unique here. Okay, cineplexes, we call it multiplexes here. Cineplexes started appearing, say, in places like the US, particularly in the US and Europe, by the 1980s. As cities got bigger and people moved to the suburbs, okay, four-way junctions, huge things came up. 14th floor, 15th floor, okay, you drive, park your car in some 6th or 7th floor, take your left, and then topmost floor you go, you get your cineplexes. Where they are simply numbered, cinema 1, cinema 2, like screen 1, screen 2, screen 3, this is what you got. Okay, next. Now when it comes to the city, the issue is how do we conceptualize? How do we understand the city? What are the tools we'll use to sort of, make sense of it? Okay, here we have to make a distinction between the rational city was a city that existed. What do I mean by the rational city? The rational city is an administrative tool. It's an administrative structure like the map. Map you have. Okay, it's a view from the top. Or if you have to relate it to fiction, in a rational city, everything needs to be explained. So rational city will be the city of Sherlock Holmes, like Michael Sutter puts it. Anything irrational has to be somehow explained away and finally reasoned and put in place. With a force of law, if need be. Okay, so that is automatically, you have the city, but there is a city from below. It's dark alleys. Okay, it's corners, nook and corners. So you have a view from below is totally different from the view from above. And here's the issue of power versus resistance. So then the whole issue of, but we start, if that is the case, we can't use this rational model, that's okay for the administrator, okay for the city planner. But what understanding will it give someone who is looking at the culture of the city, okay, in all its complexity? It's no use. So we rely on what we call as the cognitive maps, the way the city is imagined. Now the way the city is imagined is always based on certain historical factors as well as what I call as experience. So in a way I can say every one of us, we carry our own cognitive map to navigate the city. We navigate not only the city's traffic, the people, and have so many things. Okay. So here also what happens is certain cognitive maps come to dominate the scenario. Okay, in terms of race, class, okay, as long as the British were here, race played a crucial part. Okay, the class, caste, religion, language, gender, sexuality and generation, whether it's younger generation, older generation, how you look at the Marina Beach. Different groups look at the Marina Beach in a different way. You know what? That's how the students looked at it some time back, a few months back. How a certain kind of middle class people will look at the Marina Beach. Or you see how the people from North Chennai who come there to the working class people who come from there to to celebrate Kanam Pongal, how they will look at Marina Beach. It's the same space. But the way the cognitive maps sort of relate to them is totally different. Okay. Then you have, that's why I call this a dominant. Some maps get dominant. Okay, what I call is certainly at a certain point of time a Mylapore-centric view or a Mylapore-centric cognitive map may rule the city. Another time, another one. So it goes on like that. Then you have, but cognitive maps, though it's based on personal experience, okay, it's not merely subjective. That's what we need to. It's not only an objective thing. Okay, nobody's cognitive map can exhaust the whole city. So obviously there are limitations, but it's not subjective. It's shaped by historical factors. Okay, I don't share the same cognitive map. Somebody living here in the 40s. My children don't share my map. They've had a different kind of experience. You know, this thing comes in. And the city also becomes a virtual city. Once this arrives, the city is not really the actual city. There's an actual city and there's a virtual city. And when I'm talking about cinema, with cinema we already arrive at the virtual city. Like a cinema is about the virtual city. Although it borrows elements from the actual, it's in a way, it's a virtual environment. Okay, let's go please. So even in the early days, you can see when films came from elsewhere, is the city which shaped how it will be received. Okay. Okay, you had at one wing the film The Art, screened exclusively to the white sahibs and the brown sahibs. These were film The Art, I mean these were films made on plays of Shakespeare, 19th century novels and so on. But Venkataya Naidu saw a different thing from 9 to 6 in Mount Road. Okay, if one kind of a crowd came and went, after 6 o'clock he saw a different kind of a crowd. Okay, all those people working in those consumerist places, they were leaving. So he was more interested in gathering them as his audience. Huge number of working people, when the shops closed, they were leaving. So that's why he started his Gaiety to get that group. And when he started screening at 6 o'clock, the 6 o'clock show became the first show. Okay, that was the first show. First show was the 6 o'clock show. Okay, night shows starts at 9. They were all coming at later point. Then you get the matinee show, then you got the morning show. Now that phenomenon also has gone now. Now there are shows only. Okay, there are 5 or 6 shows. Okay, that phenomena vanishes with the global 90s, by the 90s, when we arrive at the 90s. But anyway, there were serials like The Perils of Pauline. Perils of Pauline is a melodrama. Okay, it's about this woman who can wield the whip, ride the horse, and also fire a gun. Okay, a daredevil, but skimpily clothed. Because she was skimpily clothed, all these what I call people who enter the theatre like Gaiety, boisterous, noisy, okay, whistling. Okay, this certainly made the Britishers very uncomfortable. Okay, they were trying to moralize and they civilize, and here was a white woman who was sort of daring that kind of self-image they were projecting. So that is why, they kept on writing about things. They wanted this one electricity inspector called Underwood. God knows how many letters he wrote. Kept on writing to the establishment. Okay, so in a way censorship comes much before we start actually making films here. Okay, by 1918, how many films would have been made? Falke made 1 or 2, the others made 1 or 2. Here, Nadaraja Mudiyar made 1. But censorship came within 1918. Okay, so, but Perils of Pauline, when it was screened, it was 6 episodes. Each 2 reel episodes. Okay, it was not one structured feature film. It was 6 episodes, like your television episodes. So what happens is when you do it with one projector, between one reel, one episode, another episode is a gap. What will you do in that gap? This gap has to be filled. So Venkaya, Madan and elsewhere, a lot of people, they were ingenious. These guys introduced the song. Somebody will sit and sing a song. Okay, harmonium, tabla, sing a song. Another gap, somebody will do a dance. Another gap, somebody will do a boxing match. Another gap, a buffoon will do his comedic act. So you can see these elements became very popular, irrespective of the film. Okay? So irrespective, in these guys are becoming stars in those silent days. These performers. And that's what happened. So you can see all these so-called items, okay, along with this other show, whether it's coming from, whether it's coming from America or elsewhere, which could be bought dime a dozen, it all mingled together. And when the talkie came, these things which are outside went inside. Went inside. Okay. You had the song and dance, you had the comedy act, you had the stunt, and so on and so forth. Next, please. Next, we can skip that also. Okay, and also here okay, you can see also the concept of an interval evolves, unlike the West. In the West, what happens is you buy your stuff and get inside. There's no in between cut, because it evolved from this episode screening, and during the episode screening, in the gap, people were also selling cigarettes. They were selling murukos, sodas. So that became a thing, that business had to be continued even in the talkie era. So if any film came from abroad, let me give you an example, my experience in watching Hitchcock's Birds. Wondering where this guy is, where this theatre fellow is going to put the interval card. Okay, Hitchcock did not put an interval pre-designed into it. So waiting where? Some of them are very ingenious with projection operation. Exactly at that moment when the bird sweeps down and hits Melanie on her face, and she starts bleeding, tuck, the card came interval. Okay, so everybody came out noisy, and now you have to go back and watch the rest. So, okay. So, local production at last, okay. It again shaped by both authority and audience. Okay, in the audience I mean the city, and the city here was at that moment of time is part of the Madras Presidency. It was a kind of a cosmopolitan city. So next, as an audience was a different thing. Nobody was making a film exclusive for the Tamil audience. Now you take Keechagavadam. Nataraja Mudaliar is supposed to have made it in 1968, 16 according to one version, but more historical facts point out to 1980. So what happens? He's doing Keechagavadam. Keechagavadam is taking not simply like how Dadasaheb Phalke took it from Mahabharata, Ramayana, Harishchandra he made. Now this is from Mahabharata. But there's another reason why he's picked up Keechagavadam. Keechagavadam he picks up from Mahabharata because there is a Draupadi cult in the south, spread across Tamil Nadu, Andhra and parts of Karnataka. Now this cult, there are Draupadi temples. If you go to North Tamil Nadu, you'll see Draupadi temples and you'll see Draupadi celebrations every 18 days of that. It happens. Okay, it's a major ritual in certain places. So that is the kind of an audience it is addressing. Okay, he made this Keechagavadam. Okay, set up this glass studio in Villas Road. He ran it for some time, made a few films, and then lost out. Next, please. Okay, this is the kind of people who worked behind it. We had this Raghav Vadivelu, he is an actor from Sugunabara Sabha. He trained the actors in the film. Next, let's jump. Okay. Then Venkaya started the Star of East Films. That's the first proper production company, I can say. Proper footing. Okay, because he sent his son Prakasha he sent him to London, got him trained, brought him back and set up, and that's when really production started off. Okay, next. Okay, and under Prakasha, people like Y.V. Rao and Pullaya and others, they got trained. So next generation, patent could be passed. Even though that company collapsed, the patent could be passed, including Narayanan, who was also dealing with them. Come. Narayanan then became the key element. Even he set up his General Pictures Corporation, because that was the biggest outfit around that time. But one major reason is why it was very difficult for the film production to get off here at that point is also because of the colonial attitude. Okay, the colonial attitude, because of the colonial lack of support from the government or its policies, what happens is that you cannot get finance from banks. So we relied on other kinds of sources, and making Indian films, those days were very, very expensive, local films. Even though these companies started, making a film was an expensive affair. Next. Okay. Then comes talkies. Talkies I already talked about. With talkies, what happens is, once the talkies arrive, you have this division. No longer you can address a multiple group. Initially, if you look at what is that film, Kalidas, made in 1931 by 31, H.M. Reddy made it. You can see some characters are talking in Telugu, some characters in Tamil. It won't work. But that's what they're trying to, play to both the major, the greater number of audience. A lot of Telugu people in Madras presidency, okay, and there were a lot of Tamil people. So you have to sort of balance both. It didn't work. So after that, you can say a new kind of public gets constituted. We call it the imaginary Tamil public. Okay. Next, please. And also the linguistic division. It comes in 1956. Okay. Go back. So also the emergence of the imaginary Tamil public, both in politics and cinema. Once with the linguistic division. Already in politics it happens by 1949. Okay, when Annadurai breaks off from Periyar, starts at DMK. It already plays, theatre is happening, but in cinema, its presence becomes very clear from 1949 onwards and comes to full strength by 1956. Okay, next please. So what I'm going to do now, the last phase of my thing, I try and quickly finish it, trying to map how things changed. Okay, apart from these broad, deeper changes, what is happening? Okay, start please. First is you can look at the city as an object of reform. Two films here I'm looking at Tyagabhumi and Prasakti. Tyagabhumi is pitched from the Congress side. Okay, the Gandhian framework. Okay, the city is seen as an object that needs to be subject to a Gandhian framework, both the top and the bottom. And once that is done, it will become an okay place. But at the same time, city is, if you look at it, city is both an exile, a place of exile and reconciliation. So the main characters don't come from the city. They are exiled from the rural area and then they live out their exile in the city and then find their way out. Okay. Then you have Parasakti. Same, similar structure. Okay, these characters come from Burma during the Second World War. Because of the war. They are exiled from there, again they come to the city. And the same similar things happen. The city is again a problem, okay, which needs to be reconciled. But reconciled to a different kind of a political imaginary. Okay. Then you have the city as the object of vigilantism. Okay, this evolves particularly, you can say, from the 70s. 70s it gets a real boost. I don't know how many of you have seen The Angry Young Man in Hindi cinema. Okay, here also there's Rajinikanth, a lot of things. I'm not going to that. I'm just coming to a certain thing. Karuppu Panam we get about 1964. It's a film made by Kannadasan. He himself features in it. Then you have similar ones which have become more and more congealed in films like Gentleman, Indian, Onion. Okay, all this city is seen as what I call as the citadel of corruption. But suddenly there's a turnover. By 2013, corruption has been accepted as a way of life. It's part of you. You can't escape it. That's what Sudhu Kavam is, a black comedy. Okay, it's part of the city. It's built into it. Nothing can be done. Okay. Then you have the city versus the countryside. And here the problem of integration was in non-integration. The city is the locus of enunciation. Okay, here the classic character of the country bumpkin will come. Like in all cinemas. All cinemas produce their country bumpkin. So ours also produced this country bumpkin. You have Neer Kumari, a character who cannot integrate this fool from the countryside, cannot integrate into the urban side, goes back. But you have Anubhavi, Raja Anubhavi, the Nagesh character, the Varunama character, they managed to integrate despite problems, okay, despite their dislike. So you have that kind of a thing. Then you have the workers' city. Okay, you have the Sivkumalli. Okay, you got, it's all concentrated on the labor. And you can see by the late 70s, there were also a lot of Telugu films. Telugu films, centered on labor issues, left-wing oriented. They had a strong influence on Tamil cinema, and many of them, okay, Sivakumbali is a classic case. And then you had actually, the labor issues were touched by Tamil cinema even earlier. Okay, that's where you get Tirumi Par, Pasamalar, and then Irubuthurai. All these are focusing on that. Then I look at the cine political city. I cannot avoid that. But the cine political city is, I mark it with the Nam Nadu, made in 1969, where MGR makes its thing very, very evident that he wants the leadership very, very clearly. Makes it evident in that film. Okay. Then the exact opposite of that. Where did it lead to eventually? Where did it lead to? What kind of exploitation or personality cult? Where all it led to? You see it in Ennai Uthodan. Much later, maybe about 31 years later, after MGR died, not while he was alive, you get to see that. Okay, there's a new kind of mood. Okay, then you get Maniratnam's Iruvar, and you also get an Aida, which are different takes from Ennai Uthodan. You see from the cadre's point of view, how the cadre gets exploited and chewed up and thrown out once they are used. That is what Ennai Uthodan is about. Next, please. Okay, there's also the question of conquering the city. Okay, this is again another very interesting trope. Okay, here it often swings between urban despair versus pastoral nostalgia. You got this Patina Pravesam family which migrates to the city, and then what happens? One situation of despair to another situation of despair, it moves, finally rejects the city and returns. Okay, Autograph travels the opposite way. Okay, it's about this guy coming from a small town, going to other places, then finally landing up in Madras and really making it out here. Okay, Mahanadi, again the old pattern. Urban despair, pastoral nostalgia, again Mahanadi, you have the same pattern in Patina Pravesam. Okay, here is a wealthy man, actually he's not a migrant coming to the city for, just to eke out a living. He wants to expand his wealth and he's taken for a ride, loses out everything, so moves from one despair to another despair, series of losses. Finally the family returns from here, they go back to wherever they came from, Sri Lanka or wherever they came from. Then you have the Tirupati. Tirupati is the opposite again. Again you find this rugged individual coming from the rural area, taming the city. Okay. So around 70s you can say the axis shifts. Okay, suddenly the city loses its balance. Suddenly the city is not directly addressed. Okay. You see the Padinadu Vedamle, suddenly the explosion of rural films. But the locus of enunciation there is rural, no doubt. But that doesn't mean the city is left out. The city is there as more as a bad influence. As a bad influence that needs to be kept away. Okay, that's what happens in the series of films until that's a kind of a compromise which occurs. Okay, and then by Devan Manan you have the city as locus of enunciation. Though your story is about the rural area, the city becomes the locus of enunciation. How it is, even the rural area seen through the eyes of the city and reworked. A lot of your Madurai films made from since that time, although they have taken the terrain as Madurai for that violence, for the action, the way they are defined as things that needs to be civilized, brought into certain level and reform is a city kind of a case. Then you have the desolate city, Undai Polorvan, way back, Jayagandhan's famous story, Passi, H.L. Iravagal, really looking at the desolate people right at the bottom of the society. Next please. Okay. I think this is my last slide, so I'll just quickly finish it, and then you have the gender city also. Gendered city, I'm looking at here, films like Avalam Tendane, Avaloru Thodakadai, Silanerangal Silamanidhargal, Avala Paditan, and Padinaru Vaidhanile. Okay. Sorry, Muppataru Vaidhanile. Muppataru Vaidhanile, we come to the global. Already those are different. You can say Muppataru Vaidhanile could not have been made in say 1976. That's what I mean. When the city changes, its cinema changes. Okay. In 1976, nobody could have made 36 because the conditions were different. Okay, then you have the other city, the city that is not focused for a long time and suddenly emerges. Okay, that's what I call many of these stories which currently focus on North Chennai. North Chennai, okay. You have the Vandi Chakram which had a basic reference to it. In fact, Vandi Chakram, the story is set inside Kotwal Chadi. Story is set inside Kotwal Chadi because those days it was very difficult to shoot in Kotwal Chadi. The film was shot in Bangalore. Another reason it was shot in Bangalore was because of the subsidy available by the Karnataka government. So K. Vijayan shot it there. Okay, that is, but actually the story is supposed to be happening in Mandarpetai, though it is shot there. Then you have the Pudupetai, you have the criminalized city, and again it's again set in north. But Pudupetai, Palladavan, looking North Chennai more as a dreadful place that needs to be reined in. But suddenly something else happens with Attakatti and Madras. Attakatti and Madras take the other terrain. Now they are like series of novels and short stories that have recently come up on North Chennai. Like one novel that has come with Karan Gargi, and there is Bhakyam Shankar. You have a new voice in literature as well as cinema, okay, claiming the city, saying the city is as much as ours. It's our place. We are not just nobodies here. It's an assertion. That is new. That has come up with what I call as Attakatti and Madras. Okay, I'm sure more films will come in that way. Then we get the global city, which is going to be the forthcoming film Taramani. You know why it is called Taramani? Taramani is the hub of the IT world. Okay? And also it's going to look at not just the Tamil people. It's all the film is also what the filmmaker has given an interview saying. He is also looking at a lot of the migrants who are coming. You know, migrants have moved into the city about 10-15 years, ever since the 90s, in a very big way. All over India, and it's happening in big cities. Basically, migration is very high. Okay, and then I have not talked about the dreadful city. I mean, dark city. I mean, what constitutes urban dread? Quite a number of them are there. Just one example I will give you. You then say. So, in a way, as the city evolves, goes through different phases, okay, for political, social, and economic reasons, the cinema shifts. Today, you know, what has happened is a multiplex. Without the multiplex coming in, a certain kind of cinematic change would not have happened. So one way to look at cinema is, when does cinema change? When its exhibition space changes. So in a way, the exhibition space started changing by the 90s. Bringing in a different kind of an audience. Okay, with the exhibition space changing, what happened is we got a more paying middle class audience. In the 70s, it's the rural audience who were commanding the cinema. You know, so-called, the distributors will say the B and C areas. Okay, not the city. City are the A center. A center. Okay, we don't make films for A center. B and C are important. Now things changed. A center is very important. It's become a very key player. Because A center is not just Chennai city alone. It's gone beyond Chennai city. It's become global because a lot of people migrated in recent times from Madras or other cities to, I think, Y2K boom. Started with the Y2K boom and then followed with the other IT things. And now there's a recession in it. But that swing changed a lot of things. It also integrated. Now many Tamil films go right into the heartland of Hindi cinema. Tamil cinema has become all India film now. With Shivaji, again, there was an attempt to make a Tamil cinema into an all India film way back by Vasan. Today it has become a reality. With Shivaji and films like that. Now I think Shankar, when he pitches his film, what I call as Robo 2.0 comes in, it's going to be an all India film. Only that way it can recoup the cost. Because first time in the history of Tamil cinema, a film that is where they are investing 350 crores. It was not invested for Bahubali, it was not invested for Dangal. No such investment is available for Hindi cinema, but it's available for a Tamil film. And it's going to be released in 4 languages. Tamil, Hindi, Telugu, Malayalam probably, or Malayalam, Kannada I cannot dub it. So these 4 languages will be released. And across the world I'm expecting a what I call as a release of at least 3,000 theatres. Swamp. So like people talked about Bahubali for a few weeks here, something much bigger than that will happen. So with that I'll end my talk and hope I was able to pull into focus that many things that occurred here. It's actually a part of a larger research project I have. I condensed it. So many what I call complexities have been brushed aside to quickly, say what I can about it. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to present my this work here. Thank you very much. I am now open forum. Anybody can ask me questions or interact. Welcome.